I am really excited to be here. You probably can guess a couple of reasons why. The most important reason is because I believe that you can make a difference. I believe that the work you do is so important that you are charged with sharing it. And I believe that when you share it, you will actually impact the future of research in whatever science, whatever arena that you're working in. And all you need to do in order to do that is to, good morning, come on in, is to make sure that you know how to give a good speech, that you know how to engage people, that you know how to talk to them like human beings. And you know what? You're the rocket scientist, I'm not. But I can teach you how to engage your audience and to treat them a little bit like you might treat somebody on a first date. I call it wooing the audience, courting the audience. I want you to do a little flirting with the audience. And I'm going to flirt a little bit with you today just to show you, just to lead by example. The first time I ever gave a speech, I was doing radio. And when you are a radio talk show host, everybody calls you to say, come and speak to our group, come and speak to our organization, won't you get involved here, won't you do this, won't you do that? I could not talk in front of people. I couldn't breathe. My hands sweat so badly. I couldn't hold a microphone. I mean, right now even, it still happens to me, but this is years later now. My husband at the time said, I want you to do this. It's very important that you learn how to speak to people that you can actually see. And he talked to me, and he talked to me. He finally convinced me to do it. So I went to this meeting, and there were probably twice, maybe 3 times as many people as there are here today. And I stood up in front of these people, and this was in Bellingham, small little town. The mayor was there. The county executive was there. All of the leaders were there. Everybody I'd ever interviewed on the air and who saw me in a particular light. I knew what I was doing. I could speak well. And I stood up in front of them, and I realized that I couldn't even start the speech that I'd so carefully written, but had not really practiced. That I could not even start the speech because I couldn't breathe. And I thought, what am I going to do? And they're all looking at me, and they're waiting, and they're smiling, and they're rooting for me. Audiences want you to succeed. You have to remember that when you go in, okay? And they've been in your shoes. If you're nervous, that's okay. They've been nervous too. So they're all looking at me, and they're waiting for it to happen. And I try to talk, and my voice is warbling like this. And people are looking at me like, maybe she's sick, you know. And I keep going, and I'm trying to stay focused. And I think I got maybe 3 minutes into this speech, and I realized that I was sliding out of my shoes because my feet were sweating so badly. I was about to drop the microphone. I couldn't breathe, and I certainly couldn't remember the middle of the speech. So I jumped to the last sentence. I delivered it beautifully with my voice warbling like this. I smiled, and by this time, everybody in the room, people I had known for a long time, they were all looking down because they were so embarrassed to look up at me because I was failing so miserably. And I put the microphone down, I smiled, and I walked down the middle of the group and out the front door. I didn't look back, I didn't call anybody, I didn't want to know what people thought, I knew what they thought, they wouldn't meet my eyes. I had failed so miserably as a speaker. So how do you go from that to this? Because now I love this. I love talking to people. You have 30 seconds to make your first impression. Whether you're on a first date with somebody you'd like to date again, or you are standing in front of an audience like this. So it starts from the moment that people start trickling into the room. It doesn't start the minute that you turn the mic on. You work that room in the morning and try to meet people. Try to be comfortable with people. Like I said, they want you to succeed. You want to get to know them so that it starts to feel like a relationship, because you cannot have a second date with somebody unless you develop a relationship on the first date. So if you're wooing your audience, if you're courting your audience, you are working towards that second date. Okay, build relationship with them. You know how to do that. Everybody in this room knows how to build relationship. Just apply those principles here. When you walk up to the podium, some of this is just so pragmatic. It is just so simple, and if you do it, even if you just fake it until it feels good, it'll still work. You have 2 ways to walk up to the podium, 2 choices that you can make. Well, probably several more, but let me show you this. If I had walked up to the podium when Susan was giving me that fabulous introduction today, if I had walked up to the podium like this, and then gripped this, what message am I sending you? What am I saying? I'm scared, I don't want to be here. Did I make eye contact with her? You had to pretend like you knew she was here still. I made no eye contact because I was going over my speech in my mind. You know, if you haven't memorized it, then by all means, bring a PowerPoint with you or bring notes with you. I think that you should, I believe in redundancy, I think you should bring both. Now, compare that to, and I'll make this a little bigger than it was, but she's introducing me, I'm engaging with her, I'm looking at you, I'm making comments, I'm being who I am, right? I am being myself because that's what's most important. And then she introduces me and I walk up and I'm really glad to be here. And she leaves before I can hug her, and so I have to say fabulous things about her so that I still stay engaged while she's walking away. And then I tell you that I am excited to be here. And it's the truth. I am excited to be here, but that is a whole different way of starting your presentation, isn't it? Doesn't it speak volumes? Doesn't it say, okay, let's get started. Let's do something here. We're partners, we're in this together. I'm getting a little more comfortable in front of people, and I have to tell you that the reason that I can now stand up here is because I figured out if I can make you laugh, then I can talk to you. It's as simple as that. Everybody has a trick. My trick is I can make you laugh, then I know you like me. Isn't that pathetic? I mean, I'm sure it's family of origin stuff, but I don't know. Anyway, so the second time I was invited to talk, it was in front of a women's professional network up in Bellingham, and it was a huge room. It was absolutely full. Again, I was a talk show host. I'd been doing it for so many years. They all knew me, and they had insisted. And I had to do it because I won a national award, and they paid for me to go back to New York and accept it from Katie Couric. And so they were like, oh, you need to come and tell us the story. And I'm like, no, I can't. And they looked at me like, I'm sorry, we just paid for you to go back to New York. You're what? Say that again? And so I had to go. So I went, and I brainstormed about how I was going to be most comfortable. And I finally figured out, because everybody would say, you do radio. Why in the world are you worried about this? And it's because I couldn't see anybody in radio. So here's what I did. I walked out, I smiled at everybody, my knees were knocking, right? It's the same thing all over again. My knees are knocking, my hands are sweating, I'm falling out of my shoes, I can't breathe. I know I'm gonna have to walk out through the middle of the room again after giving a 3-minute warbly speech. So I get up there, but I've planned. And I've practiced so many times. I know this speech backwards, I know this speech forwards. And so I get up there, I smile at everybody, I take the microphone and I say, good morning, because that's what I sounded like still. And I said, you know, I get so nervous talking in front of people, and my voice is still shaking like this, that there's something I have to do here. And I put my microphone down and I took my time. It's my time. You're not going anywhere. If I decide just to stand up here and look at you, you're not going to go anywhere. So I took my time, and I picked up a set of headphones, and I put them on my head, and I smiled my biggest and brightest and warbly kind of smile, and then I turned around. And I did the first 5 minutes of my speech just like this. And I said, oh, that's so much better. I can't see you. Now I can talk to you. And they laughed so hard. And as soon as they laughed, I could have turned around at that point, but I kind of wanted to make my, so I walked this way, and I walked this way. And they kept giggling and laughing. And then I turned around and I got more serious and I gave my speech. So I figured out that humor worked for me. You'll find out what yours is. Ask your husband, ask your mother, ask your sister, ask somebody. When you get really comfortable, what's the button that they push? They'll know. If you can't figure it out, they'll know themselves.